In a daze, high schooler Moriyama Satsuki is jolted back to reality by a voice calling her name from afar. Her friend, Natsuko, expresses her annoyance. Satsuki apologizes, admitting that even while talking to her best friend, her mind is completely preoccupied with thoughts of her boyfriend. Natsuko suggests Satsuki should join the track and field club due to her good reflexes, but Satsuki collapses in exhaustion, complaining she doesn't want to get sweaty. Natsuko then changes the subject, asking how long Satsuki has been dating her boyfriend. 3 months. Curiosity getting the better of her, Natsuko presses on, asking Satsuki just how far their relationship has progressed. In the background, some boys overhear and are shocked by the question. While Natsuko heads off to her club, Satsuki, beet red with embarrassment, confesses that after 3 months, they have finally held hands. Natsuko is flabbergasted, shouting at how painfully slow their progress is. The scene flashes back to 3 months ago. A giant screen in the city broadcasts an official announcement from the Ministry of Defense. This is 17-year-old Satsuki Moriyama. The narration explains that on the very day the existence of cryptids and mysterious creatures were recognized as alien life forms, she got her long-awaited first boyfriend. Meanwhile, in what appears to be a staff room, 2 teachers discuss the recent news. One of them mentions something called TLP, or True Love Plan, which he claims has been executed without any issues. The blonde girl, Natsuko, doesn't believe in aliens. For her, Sasaki-kun is at the top of all living beings, the only god. The teacher agrees, stating that Sasaki-kun's coolness surpasses human intellect. Back in the present, Satsuki is lost in a daydream, drooling as she yearns to see her beloved boyfriend. As if on cue, her boyfriend, Sasaki-kun, appears, apologizing for making her wait. Overwhelmed by his sudden appearance, Satsuki is so flustered that she comically falls right off the bench. Satsuki's inner voice screams in admiration, questioning how it's possible for Sasaki-kun to be this cool as he loosens his tie. She continues to swoon over his rugged hands, long eyelashes, and a smile she feels is destructive enough to wipe people off the map. Just then, it unexpectedly starts to rain. Without a word, Sasaki-kun drapes his jacket over Satsuki's head to shield her from the rain. They comment on getting wet and hope it's just a passing evening shower. He tells her she'll catch a cold. Satsuki's heart melts at his kindness. As the rain stops, she thanks him, thinking to herself that this kindness is what she wants to keep for herself the most. As they walk towards a shrine, Sasaki-kun gently takes Satsuki's hand in his. They stop in front of the shrine entrance. The atmosphere grows tense with romance as Sasaki-kun leans in closer and closer to a blushing Satsuki. In a classic romantic gesture, he performs a kabedon, trapping her against a wooden pillar. Satsuki is breathless with anticipation. Closing her eyes, Satsuki prepares for what she believes will be her very first kiss, the perfect end to her true love plan. But just as their lips are about to touch, something goes wrong. Sasaki is suddenly pulled away, leaving a shocked and confused Satsuki staring into empty space. Sasaki is being pulled straight up into the air by an unseen force, a look of terror on his face. A massive, silent UFO materializes above them. Satsuki screams out his name, looking up in disbelief and horror as Sasaki is abducted. Screaming for him to wait, Satsuki makes a desperate leap and grabs onto Sasaki's leg. But the tractor beam is too strong, and she is pulled up along with him, losing her grip and falling as they are both taken aboard. Satsuki slowly regains consciousness, finding herself lying alone on the cold, grid floor of a metallic room. Her hands and feet are bound. She examines her strange, glowing cuffs in confusion. Just then, a door slides open, revealing a bizarre, skinny alien wearing a party hat and holding a birthday cake, who simply says, "Oh." The larger alien introduces himself as the captain, Baman, and his subordinate, Plui, who is busy munching on the cake. They are from the planet Condren. Satsuki, still bound, processes the absurd situation, realizing they are actual aliens. Satsuki's first concern is for her boyfriend, asking where Sasaki-kun is. Bamin assures her he's safe in a special storage room. Meanwhile, the two aliens cackle, finding the whole situation, and especially Pluie, rather amusing. Satsuki demands to be let go, explaining they were in the middle of a date. Bamin flatly refuses, laughing as he announces they will be taking their jappers. This new term leaves Satsuki confused and terrified, wondering if they're going to die. With a determined look, Satsuki suddenly leaps into action, surprising the two aliens. She lands squarely on Pluie, using her bound body to pin him to the floor in a surprising show of force. Using the smaller alien as a hostage, Satsuki screams for them to let her off the ship. Pluie, caught completely off guard, cries for his captain to help him. Satsuki's struggle causes the entire ship to rumble and wobble violently. The terrified Pluie explains that the ship is powered by their life force, and her actions are causing it to destabilize. Bamin, annoyed by the stubborn girl, explains the critical situation. If Pluie loses consciousness from the struggle, the ship will lose power and crash. He demands that she let him go. Now holding what looks suspiciously like a fried chicken leg, Bamin threatens to shoot. Satsuki calls his bluff and makes a counter-demand. Let her see Sasaki-kun. Panicked by the ship's violent wobbling, Bamin reluctantly agrees. Satsuki finally sees Sasaki-kun, floating unconscious inside a transparent containment tube. She screams his name in horror, asking if he's okay and if the aliens did anything to him, while Bamin promises to let him out. With Sasaki-kun's safety confirmed for the moment, a calmer Satsuki again demands to be released. Bamin, clearing his throat, begins to explain their mission. Their job is to collect large quantities of a japper from Earthlings and bring it back to their home planet. Bamin elaborates. A japper is a source of energy that only intelligent life forms possess. While the amount varies, on average, Earthlings have about 40 a japper, whereas aliens have about 120, making humans comparatively low. Satsuki asks why they don't just gather it from other aliens. Bamin explains their species isn't made for combat. However, since a japper value doesn't equal combat power, their safest and most efficient method is to abduct docile Earthlings who possess unusually high japper values. Bamin reveals that Satsuki herself is on the high side for a human with 102 a japper, while he and Pluie have 74 and 91 respectively. But when Satsuki asks about Sasaki-kun, the number is revealed to be an astronomical 97,065 a japper. Satsuki is stunned into silence, her mind struggling to process the immense number. 97,000, she stammers in disbelief. Bamin explains that this is precisely why they were having a celebration. Sasaki-kun is an extremely rare specimen, one that allows them to clear their 100,000 a japper quota in a single go. For that reason, they cannot let him go. A fire ignites in Satsuki's eyes as she glares at Captain Bamin with pure, unfiltered rage. Admitting the chicken leg from earlier was a bluff, Bamin pulls out a real laser gun, firing a warning shot that sizzles past Satsuki's head. He sternly tells her to behave. Satsuki asks one last time if they will let him go. Bamin bluntly says they can't. He then warns her that while she's also a fine specimen, if she continues to resist, he'll have no choice but to kill her. Staring back with unwavering determination, Satsuki makes an unbelievable proposal. Then what if I collect 97,000? The aliens are taken aback. Satsuki clarifies her offer. If she collects the same amount of energy as Sasaki-kun, will they let him go? Pluie bursts out laughing at what he considers complete nonsense from an Earthling. Bamin questions how a mere Earthling could possibly collect nearly 100,000 a japper. Satsuki coolly replies that she'll beat it out of aliens who look like they have high values, and if she fails, she'll just die. It's no risk to them. After a tense stare down, Bamin surprisingly agrees to her proposal. Fine, he says, much to Pluie's shock. However, He has conditions. Bamman lays out the terms. Their mission keeps them in this sector for roughly 1 more year, so her deadline is 1 year from today. During that time, they will not make any contact with her. He states they will only reappear once she's hit the quota. He directs her to a portable gathering machine with detection and measuring functions and tells her to take any weapon she likes. As Pluie objects to this generosity, Satsuki accepts the terms with a determined none and a thanks. Aboard the ship, Pluie questions the captain's decision. Bamman explains that it's a no-risk deal for them. There's a high chance she'll fail, and any Ajapper she collects will simply be added to their quota, allowing them to bring back results that exceed their target. Realizing they'll be praised and promoted, the 2 aliens decide to enjoy their last year on the planet with a grand tour. As their UFO zips away, Satsuki is left standing alone in the quiet shrine grounds. Clutching the jacket he left behind, Satsuki whispers a promise to the empty air. "Wait for me, Sadaki-kun." With tears in her eyes and renewed determination, she vows to save him. And so, her long and arduous days of fighting aliens began. Using the strange machine she borrowed, she hunted down aliens regardless of their size or value, and beat them all up. Simultaneously, encounters with the unknown became less rare, as the number of alien sightings and related incidents increased all over the world. The story jumps forward 5 months to the present day. A weary and battle-worn Satsuki stands on a rooftop, surrounded by the remnants of her latest fight. She sighs in exhaustion, realizing she's come to understand 2 things since her battle began. The first realization is that her own Ajapper value has been increasing. She uses the device to measure her energy, which now registers at 236A. Though they said Ajapper doesn't equal combat power, she has undeniably been getting stronger the more she fights. The second thing she's realized is that the machine and weapon she borrowed are special. The club-like weapon is as light as a plastic bat, yet its hardness and weight don't match its appearance. It's an amazing piece of technology. She's come to a conclusion. The harder she swings the weapon, the heavier and more drained her body feels. Therefore, she assumes the weapon's power and capacity are directly proportional to the user's Ajapper output. As she checks her phone, tears well up in her eyes as she inevitably thinks of Sasaki-kun. She morbidly wonders if he, with his immense power, could destroy the entire planet with this weapon. She quickly tells herself to stay strong. Wiping her tears, she decides to check how much Ajapper she still needs to collect. She assumes the 188 Ajapper she just collected from her fight would have made a dent. She stares at the screen in disbelief. The total remaining is a staggering 117,245 Ajapper. Dropping the device in shock, she screams in frustration. Instead of going down, the total has gone up. She flashes back to the conversation with Bamman, his voice echoing in her mind. He had casually mentioned that the items she's renting are on a loan of about 100,000 Japper. The realization hits her. She's been scammed by that trickster alien. Her despair is cut short by the sound of approaching police sirens, forcing her to grab her things and flee the rooftop. She finally arrives at her apartment, number 205. Unzipping her bag and placing it on the counter, she quietly announces, "I'm home," to the empty, silent room. The scene shifts to a flashback. Satsuki looks at a memorial photo of her mother, who passed away from cancer in the fall of her 9th grade year. She describes her mother as an alien-like person. In the memory, her stern-faced mother, dressed in a traditional kimono, asks a young Satsuki if she talked to any boys that day. A young, innocent Satsuki says no. Her mother then instructs her that if she does, she must report everything to her, who she talked to and what they talked about. Little Satsuki nods in agreement. Satsuki's narration explains that her mother's personality changed when she was 7 years old, right after her father left them for a younger woman. After being betrayed, her mother, who would constantly talk about the importance of fidelity, began lecturing Satsuki on the topic at every opportunity. This education was thorough. Her mother taught her martial arts and instilled in her the ways of being a proper woman, constantly quizzing her on the meaning of fidelity, whether in the bath, during training, or while studying. Contrary to her mother's strict teachings, Satsuki's interest in romance blossomed, fueled by watching romantic dramas and reading shoujo manga. A stark contrast to her classmates who were busy with Valentine's chocolate. And every time her mother found any trace of these romantic interests, like a hidden manga, she would become very disappointed and scold her. Satsuki reflects that she pitted her mother. When her mother married her father, her grandparents, and everyone around her were only excited that she had married into money. Satsuki believes her mother only silently accepted their expectations because she had been taught to do so by her own mother. But Satsuki knows the truth. Her mother genuinely and deeply loved her father. And because of that love, after his betrayal, her only option was to quietly keep up appearances for the rest of her life. The flashback ends. Back in her apartment, Satsuki stands before her mother's memorial and makes a solemn vow. "Mom, I'll avenge you." With fiery determination in her eyes, Satsuki declares that she will never give up on love. She won't lose to love. Never. Back in the present, an exhausted Satsuki is fast asleep on a park bench, the alien detector resting beside her. A stray cat has curled up on her back. Just then, her friend Natsuko spots her. Natsuko wakes her, asking what she's doing in a place like this. Satsuki, rubbing her eyes, asks the same. Natsuko explains she's running laps. They share a moment, realizing they're both working hard while the rest of the world enjoys the Christmas season. Natsuko sits beside her, asking if she's feeling down. She correctly assumes it's because her boyfriend is still missing. Lying on the bench, Satsuki asks Natsuko what she thinks she's missing most right now. Natsuko quickly answers, the irreplaceable, bittersweet time of youth spent with her lover, Sasaki-kun. Natsuko tries to cheer her up, offering to treat her to a barbecue on Christmas. Satsuki quietly says she's okay, believing that Sasaki might still come back. Natsuko comments on her relentless positivity. As Natsuko gets up to leave, she repeats her offer to treat Satsuki, whether her boyfriend comes back or not. She says her goodbyes, telling Satsuki not to catch a cold. Inspired by her friend's words, Satsuki sits up, her resolve renewed. She made a decision. She thanks Natsuko and declares she will get him back. Satsuki grabs her detector to find her next target, but the device is acting erratically, beeping while pointing directly at her location. Confused, she investigates the cat on her back and discovers a giant, unblinking eyeball hidden in its fur. Satsuki glances towards Natsuko, who now has a cold, unsettling look on her face. The detector beeps as Natsuko points it directly at the cat sleeping on the bench. The measurement is complete. The detector displays a massive ejapper value of 5,327. The cat suddenly transforms into a monstrous, winged creature and bolts. Satsuki, stunned, gives chase. Her mind races as she runs. An ejapper value of 5,327. She can't believe such a powerful alien was right under her nose. A new idea forms. If she can catch this one and force it to reveal the location of its friends, she might be able to pay off her entire debt in one go. The thought ignites a manic fire within her. If she succeeds, she'll finally get to see Sasaki-kun again. With a crazed look, she screams as she chases after the creature. She pursues the winged cat creature with everything she has, but it's incredibly fast. Suddenly, an even faster shape swoops past her in a blur, knocking the cat creature out of the air. Satsuki skids to a halt, completely baffled by what just happened. She looks up in horror, seeing a massive, feathered monster with swirling eyes holding what she thinks is her friend. It's not what I think it is, right? It must be a mistake. Natsuko, she cries out in disbelief. The giant monster lands on a nearby hill, holding the captured cat alien, and lets out a sigh of relief. The creature, Natsuko in her true form, gloats to herself. The meat of earthlings who exercise look really delicious. Especially the females, they're just the right softness. Drooling with anticipation, she dangles the terrified cat alien over her massive, toothy maw, proclaiming, "Time to enjoy." Still not realizing who the monster is, Satsuki grabs the cat-like alien she was chasing, pulling it away. The monster, Natsuko, glares at her, shocked by the intervention. Holding the dazed cat alien, Satsuki looks at the monster and says, "You better treat me to that barbecue," referencing the promise her friend Natsuko had just made. The monster, Natsuko, is enraged. "How dare you? Get in the way of my meal," she roars. Satsuki stands her ground, ready for a fight, her weapon and captured alien in hand. Shaking with fury, the monster suddenly declares, "I'm so lucky," and begins to transform, its body swelling in size and power. "To think that I can eat two delicious-looking women. Today's the best day," the monster shrieks, lunging forward with a massive clawed hand aimed straight for Satsuki. Satsuki dodges and jumps back, but not before the monster's claws graze her arm, drawing blood. The attack leaves deep gouges in the ground where she once stood. The monster taunts her, laughing at her good dodging. Satsuki realizes with dread that this creature is incredibly fast, far different from the weaker aliens she's fought before. Satsuki is forced on the defensive, continuously dodging the monster's relentless and powerful swipes. She knows it's no good. She can't do anything unless she gets closer. As she fights, her mind flashes back to her mother in the hospital, who told her she never forbade her from falling in love. Her mother's last words of advice play in her head. If you find someone important to you in the future, if you truly think you would like to live the rest of your life with them, give it your all. Face them with everything you've got. But her mother also gave her a crucial warning. While doing so, there's something you shouldn't forget about. Don't indulge in one person or one feeling. Always stay in control of yourself and adhere to your principles. The memory of her mother's final lesson echoes in her mind. That is true fidelity. Satsuki. In the present, Satsuki's eyes burn with a new, profound understanding and resolve. With a new strategy, Satsuki grabs the cat alien and uses its body as a springboard, launching herself directly at the monster. The monster, Natsuko, catches Satsuki in midair with a triumphant laugh. "Got you. Ah. As she's being lowered into the monster's mouth, Satsuki's thoughts drift to Natsuko and Sasaki. The captured cat alien lies unconscious on the ground below. But in that moment, as she faces death, memories of her friend flood her mind. Natsuko encouraging her to confess to Sasaki. Natsuko celebrating with her. "I forgot about what you've done for me," she thinks, a terrible realization dawning. She remembers Natsuko's promise from just moments before. "I'm saying I'll treat you, whether he comes back or not." The friendly words now feel like a chilling betrayal. With a surge of adrenaline, Satsuki shoves her hands against the monster's teeth, using all her strength to pry its massive jaws open. With a horrifying, bone-crunching snap, she breaks the monster's jaw, forcing it open. The monster, Natsuko, shrieks in agony, clutching her mangled jaw. "How dare you? I won't be able to chew properly for a while like this." Satsuki lands on her feet, exhausted but alive. Satsuki tells her to shut up, tossing the unconscious cat alien aside. "It's not just for a while," she declares, reaching into her bag for her weapon. With a final rage-fueled scream, Satsuki swings her club with all her might, smashing it into Natsuko's face and yelling, "Don't ever eat humans again." Her device beeps. Absorption complete. The screen displays a new value, 837A. Satsuki is stunned by the high number. She looks over and sees Natsuko, now back in her human form, sitting up and asking what's going on. In her confusion, Satsuki recalls coming for a picnic and finding her friend passed out. Natsuko, now appearing perfectly normal and unharmed, looks at Satsuki with wide, innocent eyes and asks, "You saved me, right?" Leaving Satsuki to question her own senses. Still dazed, Satsuki accepts her friend's thanks. She looks off into the distance, thinking of her mother, and agrees to the barbecue, reaffirming her decision to hold on to her principles and her friendship. Natsuko slings an arm around Satsuki, and the two walk off together, laughing like the best friends they appear to be. Satsuki's internal monologue reveals her new resolve. Her mother's teachings about true fidelity have finally taken root inside of her. With a determined smile, she vows that she will stick to this path until she gets everything back. A final tally appears, 115,590 Japper remaining to get her boyfriend back. The scene shifts to 27 hours ago, at the site of one of Satsuki's earlier fights. Two mysterious figures observe the messy, gelatinous corpse of the defeated alien. One notes that the unnatural external wound, appearing as if it ruptured from the inside, is similar to other strange alien corpses found in the area. One of the figures, wearing black gloves, examines a slimy residue from the corpse and complains, "Geez, who do they think has to clean this up?" The two are revealed, a man in a black coat sitting on the corpse, and a woman with short blonde hair in a lab coat. The man smirks, commenting, "There's a wannabe hero out there." An ominous final note declares, aliens aren't the only ones out for Satsuki. A young girl named Satsuki Moriyama introduces herself to her audience, announcing that it's time to go on a quick hunt. As she walks down the street, she continues her monologue, wishing her viewers well and noting that Christmas is approaching, a time for lovers. This makes her pause and wonder. Suddenly, a grotesque, multi-eyed alien looms over her. Satsuki, unfazed, answers her own question, stating that she does, in fact, have a lover. Her expression hardens with determination. She readies her weapon, a metal bat, declaring that she gets to meet her wonderful boyfriend if she beats up a bunch of these alien creatures. She has found her target. The scene shifts to deep space, explaining that aliens, once thought to be imaginary, actually exist and are lurking on Earth. A flashback reveals Satsuki's motivation. Her lover, a boy named Sasaki, was abducted by aliens. The condition to get him back is to collect the same amount of a Japper energy that he possesses and hand it over to the Kandran aliens. Returning to the present, a newspaper shows that the existence of aliens has been public knowledge for almost half a year. Satsuki sits beside a defeated alien, recalling the Kandran's words. In another flashback, a Kandran alien warns Satsuki that while this may be good news for her, it's terrible news for Earthlings, as the aliens lurking on the planet may all become active. Satsuki, still in the alien ship, questions the Kandran. He cryptically replies that it is almost time for the Space King to manifest. Confused, Satsuki asks what he means, but the Kandran dismisses her, wishing her luck before a UFO beams her away. She shouts in frustration, wanting more answers. Back in the present, Satsuki's Japper is measured at 217, a number she finds disappointingly low. Just then, two figures, a man with spiky blonde hair and a woman with a blonde bob, appear before her. Satsuki is stunned as the two introduce themselves as Muto and Miyoshi from the Ground Defense Force, under the Ministry of Defense. The scene transitions to the exterior of a large, official-looking building, presumably the headquarters of the Defense Force. Inside, Muto questions Satsuki, asking if her reason for fighting aliens is to get her boyfriend back. With a grim expression, she confirms that it is. Muto expresses his disbelief, finding it hard to accept that a high school kid is brutally killing aliens, even with an alien-made weapon. Satsuki twitches in annoyance. Miyoshi holds the weapon, amazed at how light it is. Satsuki explains that she doesn't really know how to use it. She just swings it hard. The stronger the swing, the more powerful the impact, but the more tired she becomes. The conversation shifts to the measuring instrument. Muto asks if humans can use it. Satsuki confirms they can, but admits she doesn't understand the Japper energy it measures, noting that even the Defense Force hasn't uncovered its existence. Muto asks for Satsuki's number. She replies that the last time she checked, it was about 370. He looks at her intently and says, "Scan me." A tense silence hangs in the air as Satsuki aims the scanner at Muto, the device ready to take a reading. The scanner beeps, revealing Muto's a Japper level, 285. He and Miyoshi maintain their composed expressions. Miyoshi whispers to Muto, surprised that he lost to Satsuki. Muto ignores her, stating that they now have a general idea of her situation and goal. Muto declares that civilians are not allowed to fight aliens for personal reasons and that subduing them is the Defense Force's job. He orders Miyoshi to take her things to the lab and tells a horrified Satsuki to leave her equipment with them. Satsuki slams her hands on the table, shouting in outrage. She can't believe it, screaming about the immense trouble she went through for the past 6 months to gather a Japper. She furiously blames them, declaring that her boyfriend's abduction and her best friend's near-death experience are their fault. Muto coldly retorts, asking if it's the police's fault when someone gets murdered, suggesting her actions have consequences she hasn't considered. To illustrate his point, Muto opens a file cabinet drawer, revealing it to be stuffed with letters. He tells a wide-eyed Satsuki that these are all apology letters they've had to deal with regarding the corpses of the aliens she killed, setting the stage for a lecture on the law. Miyoshi explains that Satsuki's weapon is illegal and that the Defense Force has custodial rights to alien items. Satsuki desperately argues that she's fighting for someone important, but Muto counters that if individuals act on their own sense of justice, the country wouldn't need laws. Muto gives Satsuki an ultimatum: run, and the Defense Force will hunt her for life. But then his tone shifts, and he says he will turn a blind eye just this once and let her go home. Overwhelmed and defeated, Satsuki begins to cry, her tears hitting the ground. She sobs, asking why the world won't even let her save the one person she loves. Miyoshi looks on with concern. The scene flashes back to the past, showing a young man with spiky blonde hair, Sasaki-kun, looking down a stairwell. The flashback continues, revealing how they met. Satsuki had fallen down the stairs, and Sasaki-kun, looking down from above, asks if she's being bullied. She quickly denies it, claiming she just tripped. Sasaki-kun comes to her side, carrying a cleaning mop. Satsuki looks up at him, flustered and embarrassed, as he helps her. He smiles, saying he's glad she wasn't hurt and that it was no problem, even finding the situation a little funny. Satsuki, smitten, asks for his name. Back in the present, a crying Satsuki asks to be left alone for a bit. Muto instructs her to wait on a bench in the hallway. As she leaves the room, Muto firmly tells her to leave her weapon and scan her behind. He takes the items and places them on the table with a clack as Miyoshi watches. With Satsuki sobbing on a bench outside, Miyoshi confronts Muto. She scolds him, pointing out that he can't hide the fact he feels bad for making a high school girl cry and calling him an unpleasant adult. Miyoshi tells Muto he should be the one to take Satsuki home, lamenting that the military is useless and always ignores its own faults. Muto tries to argue, suggesting it would be easier for women to back each other up, but Miyoshi cuts him off. She sarcastically calls herself the capable subordinate who will clean up after her useless boss and tells him to go. Before leaving, Miyoshi tells Muto that she thinks he is the one who can truly understand Satsuki's feelings. Muto watches in silence as Miyoshi's car drives off. In the car, Miyoshi tries to comfort Satsuki, asking if she has calmed down. She promises that, even if Satsuki can't trust them now, they will definitely save her boyfriend. Satsuki asks if the Defense Force was formed recently. Miyoshi smiles and admits that even if she says yes, it doesn't sound very promising. Miyoshi clarifies that the Defense Force was actually founded decades ago, but has only recently gained notice due to the sudden increase in alien activity. Their work involves everything from investigation to subjugation. She explains that there are many types of aliens, from harmless ones disguised as trees or bugs to those that can turn invisible or teleport. Miyoshi's tone becomes more serious as she mentions the aliens that abduct or attack humans, and how even formerly docile aliens have suddenly become aggressive. Miyoshi admits that the Defense Force has been overwhelmed, which is why it took them so long to find Satsuki. She adds that she believes Muto acted harshly because he feels responsible, though she tells Satsuki she doesn't have to forgive him. As they arrive at her apartment, Satsuki apologizes for the trouble she's caused, admitting she wasn't thinking about the dangers of her weapon or the consequences of her actions. Miyoshi gives a slight smile, telling Satsuki that being able to apologize already makes her a better person than a certain someone, clearly referring to Muto. As Miyoshi says goodnight, promising to share any news about Satsuki's boyfriend, Satsuki stops her, asking if she can ask one more question. Satsuki asks if the recent surge in alien activity is because of the Space King. Miyoshi is visibly shocked by the question. Stunned, Miyoshi demands to know where Satsuki heard that name. Her question is cut short as her phone rings. She answers, her expression turning to one of shock as an emergency alarm simultaneously blares from the car's dashboard. The news from the call confirms the source of the alarm. The scene cuts to Muto landing amidst smoke and rubble back at the JDF building. Realization dawns on Satsuki as she cries out in horror. The laboratory? Inside the now chaotic laboratory, Muto stands his ground, facing off against a giant, terrifying alien with an exposed brain and large tentacles. The brain-like alien whips one of its massive tentacles at Muto, who prepares for the impact. Muto swiftly dodges the attack and attempts a counterstrike with his blade, but it fails to pierce the creature's abnormally tough hide. He clicks his tongue in frustration. As more tentacles bear down on him, Muto darts to the side, narrowly avoiding the onslaught and shouting, "Don't get cocky." Muto finishes his sentence as he lands a powerful punch on one of the alien's limbs, causing it to crack. Seizing the opening, Muto lunges forward and thrusts his blade into the alien's face, aiming for a weak spot. But the attack was too shallow. The alien retaliates, whipping a tentacle that catches Muto and sends him flying across the room. Muto grunts in pain as he's slammed hard against a wall, clearly taking heavy damage from the blow. The alien looms over him. As it prepares another attack, Muto pulls out a handgun and fires, managing to wound one of the tentacles. Suddenly, Miyoshi appears in the doorway with her own gun drawn, calling out to her partner, "What are you doing, senpai?" Miyoshi panics, asking where the researchers and backup are. Muto informs her everyone has evacuated. She yells at him to show some spine, reminding him of his rank as a company commander, just as something flies past her. Miyoshi opens fire, but her bullets ping harmlessly off the alien's tough skin. Muto warns her that ranged attacks are useless and that she'll be in trouble if it grabs her. As a tentacle darts towards Miyoshi, Muto shouts her name. She panics, darting away and complaining that she's the wrong person for this kind of direct combat. Thinking fast, Muto throws a cylindrical object through the air toward Miyoshi. It lands with a thud near where she's been cornered by a tentacle. The object is Satsuki's alien weapon. As Miyoshi fires her gun, the weapon activates, flying forward and embedding itself deep into the alien's tentacle with a loud boom. High above the battle on a balcony, Satsuki appears, having rushed back to the scene. Below, the massive alien recoils from the blow. Panting, Satsuki looks down at the chaos, calling out to the agents below. Miyoshi looks up, relieved, exclaiming Satsuki's name and telling her she found the weapon. Satsuki shouts back that she's the one who threw it. Muto yells at Miyoshi, demanding to know why she brought a civilian here. Miyoshi explains that Satsuki refused to listen and was determined to come back, even if it meant dying, to protect her absorption machine. Satsuki glares down, telling Muto not to judge her. Muto shouts at Satsuki, telling her to take her machine and get out, warning her that she will die if she stays. Satsuki ignores him, declaring, "No way. I'm the one who's going to beat it up." She then leaps from the balcony, running along the alien's massive tentacle. Muto can only watch in stunned disbelief. As she charges forward, Satsuki recalls her earlier tears, thinking to herself that women don't just cry because they're sad. Her face contorts with rage. "Do you understand?" she screams. "I'm pissed right now. Every last one of you keeps getting in the way of my romance." As she charges forward, Satsuki shouts that while she doesn't care what happens to them, She knows that ignoring people who have fallen in front of her means losing something even more important than her goal. With fiery determination, she proclaims this is what her mom taught her and what qualifies her to be with Sasaki-kun. For Muto, however, the sight of her running headfirst into danger for someone else strikes a deep, painful chord, stirring a memory he had long since buried. Satsuki's reckless charge triggers a traumatic memory for Muto. He sees a vision of himself as a child, running from a monstrous hand, as his younger sibling pleads for him to let go of their hand. The memory continues to haunt him as he remembers his sibling's hand slipping from his grasp. He could only watch, crying, as they were taken from him. Snapping back to the present, Muto desperately yells instructions to Satsuki, telling her that the alien's tentacles have a limited range and that she needs to go up. Satsuki understands immediately. She uses Muto's advice to her advantage, spotting her chance and scrambling up a nearby ladder to get above the creature. Reaching the top, she grabs onto some hanging cables and swings down, landing directly on the alien's massive, exposed brain. From her perch, Satsuki throws her weapon down to Miyoshi, who deftly catches it. Their teamwork is seamless even in the heat of battle. With Satsuki on its head, the alien writhes in agony. Muto realizes Satsuki's plan. If she strikes it now with her weapon, the monster will explode from the inside. Satsuki stomps down hard on the alien's soft brain, causing it to puff out comically. Muto and Miyoshi look on from the sidelines. The impact ripples across the creature's entire brain, but doesn't seem to do any significant damage. Satsuki is shocked that her stomp wasn't strong enough to have an effect. Below, Muto and Miyoshi share her surprise. With grim determination, Satsuki retrieves her weapon and holds it tight, preparing for one final, all-or-nothing attack. Muto watches, his eyes wide with disbelief at what she's about to do. Satsuki slams the weapon into her own head, channeling a massive amount of energy. The alien erupts in a huge explosion of fluid, sending Muto and Miyoshi flying back. As the fluid washes over the laboratory floor, the alien dissolves into nothingness. Satsuki sits in the middle of the wreckage, exhausted but victorious. Muto, battered and bruised, stumbles to his feet. He stares at the aftermath, completely stunned and unable to comprehend how Satsuki defeated the monster. Satsuki looks up at Muto with a crazed, triumphant grin. She taunts him, asking, "Does it feel getting rescued by the high school girl you made cry?" Muto collapses onto the floor, utterly defeated. As Satsuki stands over him, he can only think to himself, "You're crazy. The girl's a mad dog." Sometime later, Satsuki is back at school. Her friend, Natsuko, approaches her at lunchtime, asking what she's drinking. "Protein," Satsuki replies flatly. Natsuko is surprised, wondering where her actual lunch is, while Satsuki continues to slurp her shake. A flashback narrates what happened after the battle. Satsuki had used up all her energy and collapsed on the spot. Muto rushed to her side, calling her name in concern. She passed out, unsure if it was from the concussion of the headbutt or the sudden fatigue from using the alien weapon. After being hospitalized for a day and cleared by doctors, she was sent home by the military. She wakes up the next morning, the only difference in her life being that Sasaki-kun is still gone. She reflects on the recent events, feeling as though the abduction by the Kondrins and all the days she spent fighting aliens were just a dream. Her melancholy thoughts continue as she feels that even Sasaki-kun's very existence seemed like nothing more than a long dream. Snapping back to reality, Satsuki turns to a confused Natsuko with a furious expression, shouting, "You really think I would be all wistful like that?" Satsuki declares her new plan with fiery resolve. Since the military took her weapon and scanner, she can no longer fight aliens. Therefore, she will train her body to its absolute limit and generate enough of her own ajapper to pay the aliens back herself. An image of a hypermuscular Satsuki flashes, symbolizing her new goal. Satsuki continues her rant, declaring to a concerned Natsuko that she is not giving up on Sasaki-kun. Just then, a voice calls her name. It's Miyoshi, who waves cheerfully. Muto is with her, sitting silently with his arms crossed. Satsuki glares at the two JDF agents, clearly still harboring anger from their last encounter. Muto avoids her gaze. Miyoshi awkwardly tries to translate Muto's mumbling, telling Satsuki that he's thanking her for saving him and apologizing for making her cry, offering to treat her to sushi as an apology. Miyoshi cheerfully tells Satsuki they'll pick her up tonight and to be home. They turn and leave, leaving Satsuki and Natsuko bewildered. As they walk away, Natsuko asks who they were. Satsuki calls Muto a useless old man, but then surprisingly wonders if he might be her type. The scene then shifts to a sushi restaurant, where Muto explains that they've spoken to upper management. While Satsuki enjoys the sushi, Muto delivers the bad news. They still can't give her the green light for her personal alien hunt, nor can they return her weapon or absorption machine. Satsuki explodes, slamming the table in fury. She screams at them, asking if they're kidding and calling them useless after she saved their lives. Muto calmly asks her to hear them out. Muto explains that while her actions as a civilian are a problem, the higher-ups have recognized she is in a very special position. He elaborates that she's not simply a victim, but a rare Earthling who has formed a business relationship with an alien. Satsuki asks if they're accusing her of being on the alien's side. Muto clarifies that because she can contact the Comdran alien and has knowledge of a Japper, something the military is still researching, she can be a strong bargaining point for them. Satsuki quietly considers his words, wondering what he means by a bargaining point. Muto continues, explaining that there's only one way for her to get approval to collect a Japper while staying on the government's good side. The only way is for her to join the military. Satsuki looks up, her eyes wide with shock at the unexpected proposition. Having made her decision, Satsuki is shown back at her home, praying at a small family altar with burning incense. She speaks to a photo of her late mother, asking if she can tell her something surprising before announcing her intention to join the military. With her suitcase packed, Satsuki heads for the door. She muses on how difficult romance is when everyone gets in her way, but reflects that someone did reach out to help her. She resolutely says, "I'm off." The scene shifts to a low-angle shot of the massive, imposing headquarters of the Japan Defense Force, or JDF. Satsuki arrives at the JDF headquarters, suitcase in tow, escorted by Muto and Miyoshi. As she takes in the new environment, her heart pounds with nervousness. She thinks about how she's just been invited into an unfamiliar organization by adults she only just met. Miyoshi asks her if she knows what's next. Satsuki, with a determined expression, assumes there must be an enlistment exam. Miyoshi flatly tells her that there isn't one. Confused, Satsuki asks why. Miyoshi explains that there's no need for her to take an exam, because she's already so strong. Muto agrees, stating she's at least at the level of a platoon leader, though he privately thinks she's much stronger. Miyoshi continues, explaining that the military is small and the ground vanguard units are undermanned. If Satsuki is prepared to put her life on the line, that's enough for them. She then cheekily adds that Satsuki is stronger than Muto. Muto gruffly denies that she's stronger and tells Miyoshi to take her to the dorms, explaining that once she signs the contract, she's officially in. The scene shows the door to dorm room 402. Later, Miyoshi sits with Satsuki as she signs the JDF contract, officially enlisting. Satsuki notices Miyoshi staring at her and asks what's wrong. A flustered Miyoshi quickly apologizes. Miyoshi admits she was just thinking how incredible Satsuki is for fighting aliens all alone to save her boyfriend, and that because she was forbidden from doing so, she ended up having to join such a dangerous organization. Satsuki asks if she's being pitted, and Miyoshi answers honestly, yes. Seeing Satsuki waver, Miyoshi tells her that she's really okay with this, adding that if Satsuki were to rip up the contract right now, she wouldn't stop her. Satsuki looks up with a bright, determined smile. She tells a surprised Miyoshi that she won't rip it up, because she'll do anything to get Sasaki-kun back. Muto enters, announcing it's time to see the Supreme Commander, only to find Miyoshi sobbing uncontrollably. Satsuki has no idea why she's crying, but Miyoshi wails about being moved by Satsuki's pure love and laments that she's still fighting aliens at age 24 instead of falling in love. Miyoshi quickly pulls herself together, snapping a salute and officially welcoming Satsuki Moriyama to the Defense Force, with Muto standing stoically behind her. Satsuki gives a small, genuine smile, seemingly content with the path she has chosen. As they walk towards the master room, Muto cryptically tells Satsuki it'll be faster if she just sees for herself, warning her not to be weird about it. This only makes her more nervous. The doors open to a vast, futuristic command center, with a single desk and chair at its center. Muto announces to the commander that they have brought the new recruit. A voice from the chair thanks him as the chair begins to turn. The figure in the chair is revealed to be an alien, similar to the Comdrons who abducted her boyfriend. He introduces himself as Yamagata, the supreme commander of the Defense Force. Satsuki's face contorts in pure horror and disbelief, her mind screaming, "What? Why?" as the alien commander calmly says, "Nice to meet you." The story begins by introducing a man named Kanemitsu Yamagata, who was described as a genius. He was the youngest child of the Yamagata family, a line of bureaucrats. A true prodigy, he graduated from a top university at the young age of 17. However, the adults around him only wanted him to remain a prodigy, pressuring him to conform to their expectations. But Yamagata was different. He believed ordinary people, whom he called pigs, wouldn't casually take care of a cryptid they found in their house or spill their guts to them. He, on the other hand, did just that, deciding to name the strange creature Sticky. He believed his actions would change the country, a sentiment he shared with his new companion. Though Sticky didn't have vocal cords, it somehow understood human language, listening to Yamagata's ambitions. The scene jumps forward to the summer, 2 years later. Kanemitsu Yamagata was in critical condition and undergoing an operation. The official story from doctors was that the damage was from a fall during a walk, but in reality, he was severely injured while protecting Sticky from someone. Using its own body, Sticky tried to stitch up Yamagata's wounds. However, it soon realized that while this might save his body, it was unlikely he would recover. His life was fading. Understanding this, Sticky stopped its efforts. Lying by his side, Sticky realized there was something else it could take over aside from just his body. It could inherit his will. Yamagata had taken action to save Sticky, but what his favorite phrase, "I will change this country with my actions," was supposed to become in the future remained a mystery as he lay defeated. And so, taking action is how Sticky took over his will and body. Back in the present, a shocked Moriyama Satsuki exclaims, realizing the story the commander was telling was about himself all along. Satsuki, trying to process the revelation, asks hesitantly, "Wait, so you are an alien?" Yamagata, now a fusion of his former self and Sticky, simply replies, "HM?" Satsuki points accusingly, shouting that he's not an alien-face human, but truly Sticky both inside and out. Her colleague, Muto, tells her she's being rude, while Commander Yamagata gives a thumbs up in agreement. Commander Yamagata explains that after the fusion, his existence was hidden. Thanks to his painstaking efforts and the Yamagata's connections, he made his way into politics, creating a small army for defense against aliens and becoming its supreme commander, calling it a slipshod ending to his human life. Now he addresses Satsuki directly. "Moriyama-kun, I've heard about you," he says, beginning his briefing on the current crisis. "As you already know, Earth and Japan are about to face unprecedented danger." He continues, apologizing for the hardship she has gone through due to their incompetence, and thanking her for her help. He warns that in the not-so-far-off future, a horde of aliens may set countless cities ablaze. He reveals the source of this impending doom. The root of all these evils is the Space King. He declares the gravity of the name striking both him and Satsuki. He elaborates that the Space King's existence is surrounded by mysteries and spoken of only in rumors. It is said that this entity has been wandering through the galaxy since time immemorial. Yamagata explains that because the information is so limited, they currently know only 3 facts. 1. The Space King holds a vast amount of energy. 2. The Space King has something to do with the recent increase in alien activity. He delivers the third, most alarming fact. It is likely that the Space King will appear in Japan soon. The news shocks Satsuki as a vision of an alien flashes in her mind. Satsuki confirms that this is what the Comdran said as well. She asks if she was given permission to join the unit because of her ability to contact them. Yamagata acknowledges this with a thoughtful HM. As expected, Yamagata clarifies that while her ability to contact the Comdrans is a factor, it's not the only reason. He admits he doesn't have a way to get in touch with them from his end, so setting high expectations isn't his goal. Looking at Satsuki's back as she stands before him, Yamagata lists the other qualities they seek: your good intentions, your strength, your will. He tells her to go back to the dorms and rest, acknowledging she must be tired. He then states their true request. We want to help you save your loved one, so we would like you to lend us your strength. Satsuki is left standing in the hallway, pondering his words. Later, in her room, Satsuki vents her frustration, unable to accept why an alien is acting as a military head honcho. Her new roommate, Miyoshi, casually dries her hair and replies that it's just as the commander said. Miyoshi admits she was also surprised at first, but she reassures Satsuki that Commander Yamagata is a very compassionate and trustworthy person. She then hands a bundle of cloth to Satsuki. She presents Satsuki with her new uniform, telling her there is a mission tomorrow. As a rule, she should always keep her gear by her bedside, ready to go at a moment's notice. With that, Miyoshi wishes her good night and climbs up to her bunk. The next day, Satsuki Moriyama, now in her new JDF uniform, is seen off by Commander Yamagata and Muto. They salute as the armored vehicle prepares to depart for their mission. Satsuki notes that her uniform looks a little different from Miyoshi's. Miyoshi explains that since Satsuki has joined as a special member, her uniform was custom-made so that others can identify her at a glance. Miyoshi's attention is drawn to the fluffy item around Satsuki's neck. I've been wondering, but that isn't a scarf, is it? A towel? She asks, noticing its unusual texture. Satsuki blushes, clutching the towel. A flashback shows her with her boyfriend, Sasaki. She quietly admits, "This towel is my boyfriend's." Before she can get lost in the memory, Muto hands her a piece of equipment, saying, "Moriyama, this is yours too." Miyoshi, filled with new determination, clenches her fists. "Then you definitely need to see him again and give it back to him," she exclaims, encouraging Satsuki. Satsuki looks with awe at the device she's been given. It's the strange alien-catching weapon her boyfriend, Sasaki, had left behind. Satsuki is shocked to have it back. Muto explains that he had the laboratory return it. A scientist in a lab coat confirms that they couldn't get it to boot up, so they were unable to do any research on it. Commander Yamagata adds his theory, suggesting the device may have some sort of built-in authentication system that prevents humans other than Satsuki from using it. As Satsuki steps into the vehicle, Muto stops her. "Don't misunderstand," he says sternly. "I haven't approved of you using that thing carelessly. However, since you've joined, it's best that you can pull out all the stops when you go on missions." "That's all," Muto says, slamming the door shut. As they drive off, Miyoshi giggles, remarking, he was definitely trying to act cool. Satsuki remains silent, processing his words. The JDF vehicle speeds down a winding mountain road, heading towards its destination. Inside the vehicle, Satsuki and Miyoshi sit across from each other. Breaking the silence, Satsuki asks, "Where are we heading?" Miyoshi pulls up a map on her laptop. Tobacco Village. It's a settlement deep in the mountains. Satsuki feels like she's heard the name before. Miyoshi explains that villagers have been disappearing one after another, and since there are no bears in the region, there's a high chance an alien is the cause. From the driver's seat, Muto states that they'll start investigating as soon as they arrive, and then they'll subdue the targets. Satsuki apologizes, saying the towel is getting curt, seemingly a mistranslation for it being too tight or uncomfortable. Miyoshi voices a complaint, feeling that the police could at least handle the investigation part, as their hands are full with gathering information on the Space King. Satsuki mentions she's been thinking about something since the commander's talk, but Muto cuts her off, reminding them that the Defense Force is in charge of everything related to aliens. Satsuki shares her idea. If we want to know more about the Space King, shouldn't we just catch one of those aliens out there and ask them? Muto explains that capturing them is harder than subjugating them, as it's rare for an alien to be capable of speech. Muto turns to Satsuki Moriyama. Do any come to mind aside from the Combrans? He recalls a grotesque, toothy alien with swirling eyes, who had a particular fondness for females, commenting on their right softness. Satsuki panics, shaking her hands frantically. Oh shoot, I killed that one. And no, I don't remember any, she stammers, flustered by the question. Muto looks on with a questioning glance. Changing the subject, Muto instructs Miyoshi to give Satsuki the information on the suspect. Miyoshi complies, bringing up a file on her laptop. The file shows that the alien is from the planet Hamaho and has been marked as the suspect based on its past methods. Miyoshi explains that the Hamaho aliens like to make their nests near their hunting grounds. The pack organizes by assigning roles to each individual. Satsuki asks how many there are, and Miyoshi estimates that a nest usually has 20 to 30 of them. Muto warns that they look emaciated but shouldn't be underestimated. Muto adds that they are highly intelligent and cunning, attacking humans even if they can't speak. He reveals that a platoon that faced them in the past was completely wiped out. Satsuki stares at the alien's picture, thinking it has a weird face. Meanwhile, in the woods, two Hamaho aliens are on the move. The larger one, seemingly the leader, orders the smaller one to calm down. For now, remain undercover and find the target. But the smaller one seems to have other ideas, thinking, hey, are you listening? I'm thinking right now, I'm going to kill you. The insubordinate Hamaho now lies defeated on the ground. The leader calmly says, I know. Anyway, avoid fighting as much as possible and don't leave any traces behind. The Hamaho leader grips its communication device, giving a final order. Let me know immediately if anything happens. It receives an acknowledgement, understood, as its thought trails off with a sense of grim finality. The target is already. Meanwhile, unaware of the hunters lurking in the woods, the JDF team arrives at Tobacco Village. They are immediately met with an oppressive atmosphere. A crowd of grim-faced villagers stands waiting, their expressions a mixture of despair and anger. An old man with a large mustache steps forward, his first words cutting through the tension. You're late. The JDF team, consisting of Isaya Hashida, Miyoshi, and Satsuki Moriyama, stand before the hostile villagers of Tobacco. Muto begins with an apology, but the village elder cuts him off, demanding to know why they took so long, as it has been 2 days since the first disappearance. Other villagers chime in, complaining that the police abandoned them and that the JDF only sent 3 people, expressing their disdain that the authorities don't care if people in the countryside die. One of the villagers points at Satsuki, shouting, she's just a child, causing Satsuki to flinch. Miyoshi steps in, trying to calm the crowd and explaining that they already have a suspect in mind. Miyoshi explains that the suspected alien doesn't immediately harm its victims, but takes them to its nest. Therefore, they haven't found any bodies yet. The villagers are not appeased, angrily asking how she can be so sure and demanding to know how the JDF will take responsibility if someone has already been killed. The village elder steps forward, his face grim. As of today, a total of 8 people are missing from Tobacco Village, he states gravely. 6 adults and 2 children. The elder gives Muto a severe warning. If even a single villager loses their life, I won't forgive you. Muto accepts the weight of his words. Understood. We will definitely save them. The team enters the woods, with Satsuki looking concerned. They reach the point where the police apparently stop their search, venturing deeper into the vast forest. Looking up at the massive trees, Miyoshi notes that it will get dark soon if they don't split up. Muto agrees, suggesting they split up and search for the nest once they find traces of a hamaho. Miyoshi, however, wants to get more evidence first. Muto reasons that the aliens wouldn't build their nest on the west side due to the difficult climb. Satsuki, overhearing this, starts to worry, wondering what she should do. Overwhelmed by the villagers' hostility and the daunting task ahead, Satsuki screams internally, "I've got absolutely no motivation to do my job." She continues her internal rant, complaining about the villagers' attitude. Meanwhile, Muto and Miyoshi discuss their work professionally, with Miyoshi stating that, of course, she wants to save the victims and cannot forgive the aliens. Satsuki flops back in frustration. While she admits they arrived late, she feels the villagers didn't have to be so harsh, especially since the team is about to put their lives on the line. Satsuki admires how mature Muto and Miyoshi are for not even frowning at the villagers' words. This triggers a memory of her own desperate lashing out when her boyfriend was abducted and her best friend was almost eaten, making her realize she said mean things back then too. She worries that if everyone acts like that, she might end up joining the dark side. Suddenly, Satsuki bows deeply, apologizing for her past behavior. Muto and Miyoshi are caught completely off guard, yelling at her to listen to them. Muto, trying to get the mission back on track, tells the team they don't have much time and need to split up to investigate the east side. He hands a radio transceiver to Satsuki, telling her to report immediately if she finds anything. As Muto asks if she knows how to use the device, a rustle in the bushes catches Satsuki's attention. From the leaves, a grotesque hamaho alien peers out, its eyes locking with hers. Satsuki stares in shock for a moment as the creature is revealed, her teammates still unaware of its presence. Before her teammates can react, the creature darts away into the tall grass. Satsuki shouts, confirming their fears. The hamaho alien? Without a second of hesitation, Satsuki springs into action, leaving the radio transceiver behind as she dashes after the fleeing alien. Muto and Miyoshi watch in disbelief as Satsuki disappears into the forest. "Hey, Moriyama!" Muto shouts, exasperated. "That idiot! At least take the transceiver with you." Miyoshi seems unconcerned, remarking that Satsuki is strong and she's sure she won't have any problems fighting it. Muto agrees, but finds the situation odd. Muto explains his suspicion. Hamaho aliens typically use the trees to stay hidden during the day. They don't run on the ground in the open like that. He looks up into the canopy, wondering, are they being chased by something? High above, their fears are confirmed. The larger, long-haired hamaho general watches from a treetop as Satsuki gives chase, preparing to descend. The fearsome creature's eyes gleam from behind its hair-like covering as it silently swoops down through the trees, closing in on the chase below. Satsuki continues her pursuit, unaware of the greater threat descending upon her. Behind her, her teammates shout, "Hey, wait for me." Satsuki closes in on the hamaho alien. As she runs with fierce determination, the creature suddenly comes to a halt at the edge of a cliff. Seeing her chance, Satsuki leaps into the air, weapon ready. "Got you!" she yells, aiming for a decisive strike as the creature remains perched at the cliff's edge. But the alien is more agile than she expected. It hops nimbly to the side, and Satsuki's attack misses completely, sending her tumbling through the air past the creature. Satsuki falls helplessly off the side of the cliff, shocked at being outmaneuvered. The small hamaho looks down at her, while a larger, more menacing alien appears behind it, its eyes wide with what appears to be surprise at the turn of events. The camera follows her descent as she plummets down the steep cliff face. She lands with a thud at the bottom, finding herself at the entrance of a dark cave. Dazed, she clutches the scarf around her neck. Suddenly, a young boy with blonde hair emerges from a cave, startling Satsuki. "Whoa, who are you? What are you doing?" the boy demands, putting Satsuki on the defensive. Satsuki quickly recovers, asking if he's one of the kids from Tobacco Village and warning him to go back because the forest is dangerous. The boy, Shota, scoffs. Don't you know you're the one who got saved? Satsuki, flustered, tries to explain about the Hamaho alien abducting villagers. Shota cuts her off, recognizing her as one of the military people. Then he delivers a bombshell. We escaped from its nest. The words hit Satsuki with full force. She remembers the village elder's desperate plea and realizes she's just found one of the missing children. Continuing from the last chapter, Moriyama Satsuki tries to stop a young boy, Shota, from returning to the alien's nest. He insists he must go back to save the others, but Satsuki scolds him, saying a kid can't possibly help. Shota retorts, pointing out that she's just a kid herself. As their argument escalates, Shota breaks down, admitting he has no way to contact his friends. Satsuki, momentarily softening, pats his head. But the boy, frustrated, lashes out, telling her to let him go. Satsuki grabs Shota again, firmly telling him to hold on and that he absolutely must return to the village for his own safety. With tears in his eyes, Shota cries out that he can't leave because he has to save them. Seeing his desperate resolve, Satsuki's expression turns serious. To get his full attention, Satsuki gives Shota a light karate chop on the head, telling him to wait just a second. In a sudden change of heart, Satsuki declares that she will act as his guard, warning him not to be reckless. Shota is taken aback by her offer, questioning if she's even a real government employee as she confidently takes the lead. Satsuki activates a device on her forehead that begins to glow, and the two of them press forward into the wilderness. They emerge from the cave to find themselves at a vast, windswept coastline with a towering glacier-like wall in the distance. Shota suddenly recognizes their location, exclaiming that this is the filming spot for a TV series called Waves with You. Satsuki, focused on the mission, seems confused and tries to steer them in another direction. He clarifies that Waves with You is the short name for a romance series with an absurdly long title. The waves I heard with you that day still won't leave my mind. A 15-day diary of a teenage romance between an airheaded girl and a straight-laced boy. The name of the location, Tobacco Village, and the mention of a bear-shaped rock from the series jogs Satsuki's memory. For Shota, being in this special place seems to have given him a newfound motivation for his task. Inspired by the boy's determination and her own resurfacing memories, Satsuki is filled with a new sense of purpose, clenching her fist and boldly declaring that she will protect this village. Elsewhere, a JDF agent comes across the mangled corpse of a Hamaho alien. He notes that Satsuki had gone in a different direction and wonders who could have been responsible for this. The scene cuts to another agent, Muto, who looks distressed in the forest. He's anxiously trying to raise his colleague, Miyoshi, on his communicator, asking what's going on as he gets no response. Meanwhile, his JDF colleague Miyoshi is trekking through a thicket alone. She's annoyed, recalling her boss's orders for her to head back and guard the villagers, feeling a sense of futility in retracing her steps. Muto and Miyoshi regroup. Muto reports that he's spotted the culprits and suggests he search for the nest himself. Miyoshi is against the idea, arguing that it's getting dark and they're running out of time, but he insists they must act before the aliens harm the villagers. Muto worries the situation may have escalated beyond their ability to handle alone. Miyoshi agrees, suggesting one of them should try to contact the outside for reinforcements. Frustrated with the command structure, Miyoshi decides that splitting up to search for the nest is the fastest option. As she rushes off, she is startled by a sudden rustling sound in the woods. Peeking out from behind a tree, Miyoshi sees the source of the noise, a serene white deer stepping gracefully through the forest. In the dense woods, Miyoshi, a JDF agent, walks cautiously. She was startled by a sound and now worries about her colleague, Satsuki, who has run off ahead. Miyoshi hopes Satsuki is okay and hasn't gotten into any trouble. Suddenly, a menacing creature, the General Hamaho, materializes from behind a tree right next to Miyoshi. Despite the startling appearance, Miyoshi remains composed, staring blankly ahead as the creature looms over her. Elsewhere in the forest, Miyoshi's male colleague grows frustrated as he's unable to reach her. Realizing it'll be dark soon, he decides to head down, but stops short when he discovers a device lying on the ground. He looks up and is shocked to see the treetops teeming with small, cat-like hamaho aliens, their eyes glowing in the deepening twilight. He realizes he's stumbled upon the aliens' den. The creatures seem agitated, their presence a clear warning not to proceed any further. Undeterred by the overwhelming numbers, the JDF agent draws his sword, his expression hardening with resolve. He glares at the creatures, ready to take them all on. Meanwhile, Satsuki and a young boy she found, Shota, are at a filming location. Satsuki reminisces about a scene from the movie Waves with You, where the characters Hiroko and Koji first meet by the shore. Satsuki excitedly points out a shrine from the movie, but Shota, upset, yells at her. He angrily states that he can save the other captured villagers by himself and tells Satsuki to leave if she's just there for fun. Satsuki, confused by his outburst, asks why he's so worked up. She brings up another child victim, and Shota confirms he's talking about them, gesturing towards the forest. Sensing an opportunity, Satsuki starts teasing Shota, playfully asking about the person he's so concerned about, if it's a girl, if they're dating. Shota becomes flustered and yells at her to shut up. The teasing stops as Satsuki turns serious, revealing that she has a boyfriend named Sasaki-kun. She shares that they had made a promise to visit this very film site together, but she ended up coming alone. Shota listens with a conflicted expression as Satsuki wistfully says she wants to come here again together with Sasaki. When Shota asks why she can't, Satsuki reveals that Sasaki was abducted by aliens. Filled with renewed determination, she roars that for that reason, she will protect this sacred place, and they will definitely come here together one day. Satsuki immediately reverts to her teasing nature, poking fun at Shota's red face and asking what he likes about his friend, causing him to get flustered and defensive all over again. Shota internally questions Satsuki's bizarre behavior, thinking to himself that she's just going to hold him back, completely unaware of her true strength. Satsuki, meanwhile, just smirks knowingly. As Shota is dismissing Satsuki and telling her to go home, a hamaho alien lunges at him from behind. Satsuki's eyes widen in alarm as she screams for him to watch out. Reacting in an instant, Satsuki shoves Shota to the ground and counters the alien's attack, ramming her bazooka-like weapon straight into its chest. The impact sends a shock wave through the air as Satsuki's weapon makes contact, stopping the hamaho in its tracks. With the alien defeated, Satsuki asks if it's the same one from before. A bewildered Shota, still processing what just happened, can only stammer that he can't tell because they all look the same to him. Satsuki calmly kneels down to retrieve the japper from the defeated hamaho, confident that subduing it is enough. The scene then transitions to a windy cliffside. On that desolate cliff, the General Hamaho sits alone, its long hair blowing in the wind as it gazes out over the vast, dark mountain range. The scene cuts to the Hamaho General, who is in contact with his superior via a communication device. He reports that he has captured a woman, who is revealed to be Miyoshi, lying unconscious on the ground. The superior is displeased, questioning why he made contact and warning him against touching military personnel. Unfazed, the Hamaho General simply asks if he can kill her. The superior on the other end of the line warns the Hamaho General not to underestimate their adversaries, reminding him that there are beings stronger than him. However, the arrogant general becomes cranky, retorting that his superior shouldn't be so scared of killing a mere ant. Enraged by the lecture, the Hamaho General lashes out, threatening his superior and calling him a weakling. He takes out his frustration on the captive Miyoshi, who is heard cackling in pain. The superior, ignoring the outburst, coldly tells him to get back to the subject at hand. The superior refocuses the mission, stating that their primary target is located in the Hamaho Den, and that the general's only job is to retrieve them. The scene then transitions to a flashback, where a young boy named Shota recalls his childhood friend who single-handedly orchestrated his escape. The flashback continues, revealing the terrifying nest filled with grotesque Hamaho aliens. Shota remembers how his friend took immense risks to get him out of that horrifying place. Returning from the brief flashback, the superior's voice continues to list the target's traits, specifying that they are around 10 years old. A close-up on Shota's face shows his determination solidifying as he listens. The target is further described as a girl with chestnut-color hair. An image of the girl, Shota's friend, appears as he thinks to himself with resolve, "I have to save her." With the briefing concluded, the Hamaho general turns to leave. His superior gives one last order. "Contact me immediately if anything happens." As the wind blows past, the general begins his hunt for the target.